Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to part 6 of finding zeros of functions. Now, in this part 6 video, I'm going to continue, if I can get my tongue out of the way and talk, I'm going to continue to show you steps and ways and how to factor trinomials, quadratic polynomials. And here, I just want to jump right into it. Thank you for joining me. I'm hoping that I can help you make math a little bit easier by performing step by step. And here we go. So we've got this trinomial, 2x squared plus 4x times y plus, again, you can add a plus sign in between any two terms. It's not going to change a thing. Plus negative 30y to the second power. Sorry, that wasn't crystal clear for you, but I want to point that out. This is y to the second power. All right, so in factoring this particular expression, there's no equal sign, so it's not an equation or a function. I'm just kind of trying to show you how to factor expressions. We'll get into that, answering the test question problems a little bit later on. So you want to focus at each term, and each of these terms is separated by a plus sign. You want to ask yourself, what number or letter can I divide evenly into each of these terms, right? Well, I can divide at least minimum of 1x divided into this 1x because I have two x's, right? X times x is two x's multiplying together. With the plus 4xy term, I have an x, so I can divide x here. But with the negative 30y squared term, I have no x's. So I cannot factor out or divide x into each of these terms. So that doesn't work. Same thing goes with the y. I have two y's here. I could factor or divide a y into this term. I could factor or divide a y from this term, 4x times y. But there are no y's in this first term. So I cannot factor out a y from each of these terms. So that doesn't count. So if you think about what I'm doing the reverse or opposite of FOIL. Remember, FOIL is multiplying. So when you're factoring these terms or trying to find the greatest common factor, you're doing the opposite of FOIL. You are trying to find a term, number or letter, or both, that will divide evenly into each of these terms. So now I'm left with the coefficient. That's a number in front of the letters here, the variables, x and y. I know I can divide 2 into 2 evenly without a remainder. I know I can divide 2 into 4 evenly without a remainder. And I know a negative 30 can be divided by 2 evenly without a remainder because 2 times negative 15 gives me a negative 30. So I can divide 2 into each of these terms. That would be the greatest common factor. So I'm going to pull out and factor out a 2 from each of these terms. What am I left with when I divide 2 by 2? I'm left with just an x squared. What am I left with when I divide a positive 4 or by 2? 4 divided by 2 is 2. I'm left with 2xy. And what am I left with when I divide a negative 30 by 2? I'm left with a negative 15y squared. So since I'm factoring out a value of 2 in each of these terms, 2 is going to be placed on the outside of the parentheses. Whatever's remaining after I divide is going to be placed on the inside of the parentheses. I'll give you a second to take a look there. Go ahead, pause the video if you need to. I'm going to continue on. But as you divide 2 into each of these terms, I'm factoring out a 2. That means 2 divided by 2 is 1x. 4 divided by 2 is 2xy. Negative 30 divided by 2 is a negative 15. So I'm factoring out that 2. That's why 2's on the outside now. If you wanted to go back to the original term, you do FOIL. 2 times 1 is 2x squared. 2 times 2 is 4xy. And then 2 times a negative 15 is a negative 30y squared. But we're not doing that, right? We're not doing FOIL right now. We're factoring. We're trying to divide and make this term a little bit smaller. All right, so what am I going to do now? I need to do what's called reverse FOIL. I've already determined that I factored out a 2 from the original expression. Now I want to do reverse FOIL. Now I want to find, I'm going to break, 2 will always stay on the outside of the parentheses, but just like FOIL, I'm going to have 2 sets of parentheses here. And remember, x times x times x is x squared. Well, looking over here is another clue. Y times y is y squared. So I'll have a y on the opposite side inside those 2 parentheses. I'm going to show it to you in a moment, but I'm trying to get you to reason here. What 2 numbers multiply to a negative 15, but will add up to a positive 2? Right? I'm trying to figure that out. So again, I've got y squared. So I know y times y is y squared. And eventually we'll get to the y squared by performing FOIL, right? X times x, x times the y term, y times the x term, and y times the y term. That's later. But now we're looking for 2 numbers inside the parentheses that will multiply to a negative 15 but add up to that positive 2. Let's see here. I have my factor tree at negative 15. Negative 1 times 15 is negative 15. 1 times a negative 15 is negative 15. Negative 3 times 5 is a negative 15. And 3 times a negative 5 is negative 15. Which one of these will add up to a positive 2? Well, negative 3 times a positive 5. So I'm going to place the negative 3 on inside one parenthesis and a positive 5 in the other parenthesis. And so you'll see by checking your answer, by doing FOIL, remember x times x is x squared, y times y is y squared. 2 numbers that multiply to negative 15 and add up to a 2. That you have a plus negative 3 and a plus positive 5. I don't need to put a double plus sign to show that's a positive 5. I can just leave it alone, right? And so we have factored this original problem, 2x squared plus 4xy plus negative 30y squared, into 2 times the quantity of x plus a negative 3y times the quantity of x plus a 5y. And if you've been following along, hopefully this has made sense to you. Or again, you could write this the other way. You could put a plus 5 or a positive 5 on the left parenthesis and a plus negative 3 in the others. And of course, you're going to come up with the same value. Check out the next part. That'll be part 7, because I'm going to check my answer, my factored answer right here. I'm going to check it using FOIL, and I want to show you how to do that. Hey, math is easy. Take it step by step. Thank you for joining me. If I've helped you, please help me.